He loved her ... but her species believes mating includes her siblings. **. Captain Marcus Hartwell straightened his diplomatic uniform as the sleek Earth vessel Starbound Unity approached the crystalline space station orbiting the Sirenary homeworld. After 18 months of delicate negotiations, humanity had finally been invited to join the prestigious Galactic Accord. But first, they needed to prove themselves worthy to the enigmatic Sirenary, whose approval could make or break Earth's galactic future. Nervous, Captain? Asked his chief science officer, Lieutenant Commander Julia Rivers, as she reviewed her cultural notes one final time. Marcus chuckled, running his hand over his closely cropped brown hair. Terrified is more like it. These beings can literally read emotions. Try hiding your anxiety from someone who can sense your heartbeat from across the room. The Sirenary were legendary among galactic civilizations, an ancient race of empathic beings whose spiritual wisdom and technological marvels had earned them positions as mediators and peacekeepers throughout known space. They rarely involved themselves in galactic politics, making their invitation to humanity both surprising and crucial. Docking in 60 seconds, announced Chief Navigator Sam Rodriguez from the bridge. The Sirenary delegation is waiting in the ceremonial hall. As the ship settled into the station's embrace, Marcus marveled at the alien architecture visible through the viewports. Everything seemed to be made of living crystal that pulsed with soft, bioluminescent light. Organic curves and impossible geometries created spaces that were breathtakingly beautiful yet utterly foreign to human sensibilities. The docking bay doors hissed open, revealing 3 figures waiting in elegant robes that seemed to capture and refract starlight. Marcus felt his breath catch as he stepped onto the station's deck. The beings before him were tall and graceful, with skin that held a subtle luminescence and hair that moved as if underwater. But it was the center figure who captured his attention completely. She was stunning in an otherworldly way. Her skin held the faint purple hue of twilight skies, and her silver hair cascaded in waves that seemed to have their own gravitational pull. But it was her eyes that stopped his heart, large, luminous, and the deep violet of nebulae. They seemed to hold ancient wisdom and surprising warmth. "Welcome aboard Haven Station, Captain Hartwell," she said, her voice like distant music. "I am Zara, speaker for the Science Collective. These are my bomb sisters, Lysa of the Guardian Order, and Vera of the Healing Circle." Marcus managed a respectful bow, hoping his voice would remain steady. "The honor is entirely ours, Speaker Zara. Humanity is deeply grateful for this opportunity." Something flickered across Zara's expression: curiosity, amusement. Her sisters exchanged meaningful glances. Lysa, taller with more angular features and hair like spun gold, studied him with predatory intensity. Vera, smaller and more delicate with deep blue-black hair, watched him with gentle but penetrating eyes. "Your emotional resonance is unusual," Zara observed, tilting her head slightly. "Most species find our empathic nature overwhelming. You seem genuinely intrigued rather than uncomfortable." "I've always believed that understanding requires openness," Marcus replied, surprised by his own candor. "If you can sense my emotions, then you'll know I come here with nothing but respect and genuine curiosity about your people." Zara's lips curved in what might have been a smile. "Indeed, your mind radiates such ... singularity, individual thought, patterns unlike anything we typically encounter. Is that unusual?" "Extraordinarily so," Lysa interjected, her voice carrying a note of suspicion. "Most sentient species exist within some form of collective or shared consciousness. Your species' complete mental isolation is both fascinating and ... concerning, perhaps lonely," Vera added softly, her whispered words carrying unexpected depth. As they walked through corridors lined with singing crystals and gardens that responded to their presence, Marcus found himself increasingly drawn to Zara. She spoke passionately about Sirenary bioharmonic technology, their philosophy of emotional balance, and their role as galactic peacekeepers. Her enthusiasm was infectious, her intelligence obvious, and the graceful way she moved made something warm bloom in his chest. "Your ship's design reflects interesting priorities," Zara noted as they paused before a viewing portal overlooking the starbound unity. "Efficiency over beauty, function over form, very human. We're a practical species," Marcus agreed. "But we're learning to appreciate beauty when we encounter it." Their eyes met, and Marcus felt a jolt of connection that had nothing to do with sirenary empathy and everything to do with the simple, universal language of attraction. He realized with growing wonder and alarm, already falling for an alien he'd known less than an hour. The universe, it seemed, had a sense of humor. Part 2. Deepening bonds. 700 words. 3 weeks into the diplomatic mission, Marcus found himself anticipating his daily meetings with Zara more than any captain should anticipate routine negotiations. What had begun as formal cultural exchanges had evolved into something that felt suspiciously like friendship, though he wasn't entirely sure what friendship meant between species. "Your people's concept of individual achievements continues to amaze me," Zara said, as they walked through the station's Harmony Gardens, where crystalline trees hummed with stored emotional resonances. "To accomplish great things through singular will, without the support of shared consciousness. It demonstrates remarkable inner strength." Marcus smiled, watching her gesture toward a cluster of flower crystals that chimed in response to her movements. "We prefer to call it stubborn determination, though I suppose that's just another way of saying the same thing. It's more profound than you realize," she replied, her violet eyes meeting his with an intensity that made his pulse quicken. "Your mind is like a sealed fortress, completely private, entirely self-contained. It's single quotes s. Captivating." The word hung between them, loaded with implications that sent heat coursing through Marcus's veins. Over the past weeks, he'd learned to interpret some of Zara's expressions, but this one was new, vulnerable, almost yearning. Captivating how? Zara paused beside a fountain of liquid light, her fingers trailing through the luminous substance that responded to her touch with musical tones. "Sirenary consciousness is inherently shared among our tri-born siblings. We experience each other's emotions, thoughts, even dreams. True privacy is foreign to us. But you ... She looked at him with something approaching wonder. "You contain entire universes of thought and feeling that belong solely to you. It's both beautiful and ... intimidating. Because it makes me wonder what secrets those private thoughts contain." She whispered what it would be like to truly know a mind so completely its own. The admission sent electricity through Marcus's nervous system. He stepped closer, close enough to catch her subtle scent like ozone and growing things. "Zara ... Captain Hartwell." Lieutenant Commander Rivers's voice cut through the moment like a plasma cutter. Marcus turned to see his science officer, approaching with barely contained urgency. "Priority communication from Earth Command. Admiral Chen needs to speak with you immediately." Marcus bit back several creative curses. "I apologize," he told Zara. "Military obligations." "I understand duty," she replied, though her expression suggested disappointment that mirrored his own. The communication from Earth was routine bureaucracy disguised as urgency, progress reports and policy clarifications that could have waited another day. By the time Marcus returned to the gardens, Zara was gone. Instead, he found Lysa waiting by the Harmony fountain, her golden hair catching the strange interplay of lights from the station's binary star system. "She speaks of you incessantly," Lysa said without preamble, her voice carrying its characteristic edge. "Zara has become ... preoccupied with your human individuality. Is that problematic?" Lysa studied him with the intensity of a predator evaluating potential prey. "That depends entirely on your intentions, Captain Hartwell. My bond sister possesses brilliant intellect, but limited experience with matters of emotional attachment. If you're merely curious about intimate relations with an alien species, it's nothing like that," Marcus said firmly, then realized that Lysa's empathic abilities meant she could verify his sincerity or expose his deception. I genuinely care about Zara, more than I probably should. Do you? Lysa circled him slowly, like a hunter sizing up quarry. Sufficiently to abandon your human preconceptions. Enough to accept her true nature. What do you mean by her true nature? But Lysa was already departing. Ask her about the choosing ritual, she called over her shoulder. If your feelings are genuine, you'll want to understand its significance. That evening, Marcus found Zara in her research laboratory, surrounded by holographic displays of molecular structures that danced through the air like living artwork. She looked up as he entered, her face illuminating with joy that made his heart skip several beats. Marcus, perfect timing. I was analyzing the quantum resonance patterns from your ship's engines. The harmonic efficiency is extraordinary. Zara, he interrupted gently. What is the choosing ritual? She went completely still. The holographic molecules flickered and vanished as her concentration shattered. When she met his gaze again, her expression had become carefully neutral. Who mentioned that ceremony? Lysa. She suggested that, if I truly care about you, I should understand what it represents. Zara closed her eyes, her hands trembling slightly. The choosing ritual is ... how we bond with life partners. When a Sci-fi finds their chosen one, we undergo a sacred ceremony that creates permanent emotional resonance between souls, like marriage. Deeper than marriage, permanent psychic connection. Her eyes opened, meeting his with desperate hope. I was planning to explain soon. I wanted to ask whether you might consider whether you would ... double quotes, understanding dawned like sunrise. You want me to be your chosen one? More than I've wanted anything in my existence, she breathed, without hesitation. Marcus closed the distance between them and cupped her luminous face in his hands. Yes, he whispered, and kissed her beneath alien constellations. The shocking truth, 700 words. The morning of the choosing ritual found Marcus in the station's sacred resonance chamber, a magnificent crystalline cathedral where countless bonding ceremonies had taken place over millennia. Zara moved through the space with reverent familiarity, explaining the intricate carvings and harmonic focal points that would amplify their natural empathic connection. The bonding process requires absolute emotional synchronization, Zara explained, her excitement radiating through every gesture as she traced patterns in the crystal walls. The chamber magnifies our empathic abilities, allowing souls to achieve true unity. Once bonded, we'll share not only thoughts and emotions, but the fundamental essence of our beings. Marcus nodded, attempting to process the magnitude of what he was committing to. Permanent psychic connection transcended anything in human experience, but his love for Zara transformed the unknown into an adventure rather than a threat. How long will the ceremony take? He asked. Several hours for complete soul bonding. We'll begin with purification meditation and fasting rituals. Then ... Zara hesitated, her expression shifting subtly. Then we'll wait for Lysa and Vera to join the ceremony. Join us. Marcus felt confusion ripple through his thoughts. I assumed this was between you and me. Zara's luminescent skin seemed to dim, perceptibly. Well, yes, but... Marcus, surely you understand triborn bonding protocols. I'm afraid I don't. A cold weight was settling in his stomach like a gravitational anchor. What exactly are triborn bonding protocols? Zara stared at him with mounting alarm. But you must comprehend this. It's fundamental to our species' nature. When Sci-fi are born, our consciousness divides into three complementary aspects among triplet siblings. We share the same essential soul, distributed among specialized aspects. Lysa embodies our strength and protective instincts, Vera channels our healing and empathic abilities, and I manifest our intellectual curiosity and analytical nature. Okay, Marcus said slowly, though his confusion was intensifying rather than clearing. But how does that relate to the choosing ritual? Because you cannot bond with merely 1/3 of a complete soul. Zara's eyes widened with dawning horror. The ceremony creates psychic connection with all three aspects simultaneously. To choose me is to choose Lysa and Vera as well. We are one consciousness distributed among three physical forms. Marcus, how could you possibly bond with only a fraction of what we are? The chamber seemed to tilt around him. You're telling me that to marry you, I'd need to marry your sisters simultaneously. Not sisters complementary aspects of the same essential being, and not marriage as humans conceptualize it, but yes, the bonding encompasses all three aspects. Zara's voice was rising with panic. Marcus, you did understand this, didn't you? Surely your diplomatic briefings covered triborn consciousness. Marcus sank onto one of the crystal meditation platforms, his mind reeling. The briefings had mentioned that Sirenary were born as triplets, but he'd interpreted it as biological curiosity, shared consciousness, not romantic bonding involving all three siblings. I know, we completely misunderstood. He looked up at Zara's devastated expression and felt his heart fragmenting. I thought I was choosing only you, but I am not only me. Zara's composure shattered entirely. I am 1/3 of a greater consciousness. My thoughts are influenced by Lysa's courage and Vera's compassion. My dreams incorporate their experiences. My fears reflect their concerns. To love me is to love the totality of what I am, including the aspects of my soul that inhabit other physical forms. This is impossible, Marcus whispered, pressing his palms against his temples. You're asking me to commit to complete strangers, to bond my soul to people I barely know. They are not strangers, they are me. Zara's voice cracked with anguish. All portions of me. Marcus, please, attempt to understand. Your human consciousness is singular and isolated, but ours has always been shared and interconnected. There is no only Zara. There exists only the triborn entity we comprise collectively. At that moment, Lysa and Vera entered the chamber. Even across the vast space, Marcus could see they already understood what had transpired. Their shared consciousness meant Zara's distress was simultaneously their distress. He didn't know, Lysa said grimly, her golden hair seeming to flame in the crystal light. His species never properly explained triborn nature. This is my failure, Vera whispered, her gentle voice thick with self-reproach. I sensed his confusion, but interpreted it as normal pre-bonding anxiety. No one bears responsibility, Zara said, though tears like liquid starlight streamed down her cheeks. It's simply ... impossible. He cannot love all of us. Humans don't function that way. Marcus stood slowly, his heart pounding as he studied the three beings who shared one soul. Zara, brilliant and passionate. Lysa, fierce and loyal. Vera, gentle and wise. Could he love them all? Could he even attempt such a thing? I need time, he said finally. I need to process this. The pain in their shared expression nearly destroyed his resolve, but he turned and departed the chamber, abandoning the woman he loved and the impossible choice that threatened to tear them apart. Learning to see beyond human limits for 5 agonizing days, Marcus avoided the Sirenary delegation entirely, burying himself in routine diplomatic paperwork while his thoughts churned endlessly around Zara's revelation. Lieutenant Commander Rivers noticed her captain's distraction, but maintained professional silence, until finally Marcus couldn't endure the isolation any longer. Julia, he said one evening, as they reviewed trade protocols in the ship's observation lounge, hypothetically speaking, what would you do if the person you loved came as part of an inseparable package deal? Rivers looked up from her datapad, eyebrows arching. Sir, say you fell deeply in love, but a permanent relationship meant committing to not one person, but 3. Equally, completely, forever. That single quote says ... remarkably specific. Captain Rivers set aside her work entirely. Are we discussing the Sirenary situation? Marcus's silence provided sufficient answer. Rivers whistled softly. The triborn consciousness phenomenon. Sir, with respect, you need guidance from someone who understands their culture far better than I do. such as, actually double quotes, Rivers accessed a file on her datapad. There's a human anthropologist who's been studying with them for 18 months, Dr. Patricia Kane. She requested a meeting with you 3 days ago, but you were indisposed. 2 hours later, Marcus found himself in the ship's conference room, seeing a woman in her 40s with silver-streaked hair and perceptive eyes. Dr. Kane had the seasoned appearance of someone who dedicated years to studying alien societies. From within, Captain Hartwell, she began without preamble. I understand you're struggling with the tri-born bonding concept. May I offer some perspective? Please do. First, you must comprehend that what appears to be 3 separate individuals is genuinely one consciousness. I've spent 18 months among them, studying their neural patterns and emotional resonances. The Sirenary don't merely share thoughts, they share fundamental identity at the most basic level. Marcus frowned, but they possess distinct personalities. Zara is intellectually curious, Lysa is protective and fierce, different facets of the same core personality. Dr. Kane interrupted. Imagine a multifaceted crystal. Each surface reflects light uniquely, but it remains the same gem. Zara, Lysa, and Vera are facets of a single consciousness. So when Zara says, she loves me ... all 3 aspects do, because love isn't compartmentalized. Within their consciousness, it's integrated, shared, complete. Dr. Kane leaned forward intently. Here's what might help. I've observed numerous tri-born bondings during my research. Human concepts of romantic exclusivity simply don't apply. You wouldn't be married to 3 women. You'd be bonded to one entity that happens to exist within 3 physical forms. But physical intimacy ... double quotes Marcus began, then stopped, feeling heat rise in his cheeks, is also experienced through shared consciousness, Dr. Kane said matter-of-factly. Physical intimacy with one aspect is simultaneously experienced by all 3, both emotionally and empathically. They don't perceive it as separate relationships, but as different expressions of the same fundamental bond. That evening, Marcus made his decision. He located the tri-born in their shared quarters, an interconnected suite that perfectly reflected their linked nature. All 3 looked up as he entered, hope and pain warring in their identical violet eyes. I want to understand, he said simply. Will you help me? What followed was the most extraordinary conversation of Marcus's life. The 3 beings communicated as one entity, completing each other's thoughts, sharing memories and emotions in real time. He watched Lysa reach for a piece of fruit, and saw satisfaction bloom in Vera's expression as the taste reached Lysa's consciousness. When Zara laughed at one of his observations, delight sparkled simultaneously in all 3 faces. Do you see? Zara said softly. When I told you I loved you, it was our entire being speaking. There is no only me to return that love. Show me more, Marcus whispered. They spent hours together, the tri-born patiently demonstrating their shared existence. Vera would begin humming a melody, and Zara would unconsciously begin swaying, while Lysa's fingers tapped the rhythm. When Marcus accidentally brushed against Lysa, all 3 flinched simultaneously. When he made Zara smile, joy radiated through the entire consciousness. Gradually, impossibly, understanding began to dawn. This wasn't 3 separate people demanding his love. This was one beloved soul, divided by biology into 3 beautiful manifestations. Zara's brilliant intellect was enhanced by Lysa's courage and Vera's wisdom. Her laughter was richer because it resonated through 3 voices. Her love was deeper because it emerged from a consciousness spanning 3 hearts. I think, Marcus said finally, as the station's observation windows revealed alien constellations, I'm beginning to understand what love means to your species. And 3 voices asked in perfect harmony, hope trembling in the unified word. I want to try. He whispered. I want to learn to love all of you. The joy that blazed from their shared consciousness was like watching stars being born. The second choosing ritual commenced a week later. But this time Marcus entered the resonance chamber, with understanding replacing ignorance. He'd spent every day learning about Triborn consciousness, observing the seamless interplay between Zara's intellectual brilliance, Lys's protective strength, and Vera's empathic wisdom. What had initially seemed impossible now felt like the most natural development in the universe. "Are you absolutely certain?" Zara asked as they stood together in the chamber's crystalline heart. Beside her, Lysa and Vera waited with expressions of nervous anticipation. "Once the bonding process begins, there's no possibility of reversal. Your consciousness will be permanently linked to ours. I've never been more certain of anything in my life," Marcus replied with complete honesty. During the past week, he'd fallen in love not just with Zara, but with the magnificent entity they comprised together. Lys's unwavering loyalty, Vera's gentle healing presence, Zara's boundless curiosity, they were aspects of a whole that transcended the sum of its parts. The ceremony itself defied human experience entirely. As the resonance crystals began humming with accumulated emotional energy, Marcus felt his consciousness expanding beyond the boundaries of individual thought. Initially, it was terrifying, like drowning in an ocean of shared sensation and feeling, but then Zara's mental presence found his warm and familiar, followed by Lys's steady strength and Vera's soothing comfort. "Don't resist the connection," Zara's voice whispered directly into his mind. "Allow us to show you who we truly are." Then Marcus was experiencing Triborn consciousness from within. He felt the constant flow of shared emotion, the way happiness multiplied when experienced through three perspectives, the way sorrow divided and became bearable. He understood, finally, that they weren't three individuals, but one soul inhabiting three forms, and now his soul was joining theirs. The sensation transcended description. His individual human consciousness remained distinct, like a bright flame at his core, but it was now connected to something vast and wonderful. He could sense Zara's excitement at a scientific breakthrough, feel Lys's protective instincts extending to encompass him, experience Vera's healing touch as if it were his own ability. "Welcome home," all three voices spoke as one, and Marcus understood that he had discovered something he'd never realized he was missing. When the ceremony concluded and the crystal chamber's luminescence faded, Marcus found himself viewing his bonded partners with transformed perception. They remained individuals, Zara with her radiant smile, Lysa with her fierce beauty, Vera with her gentle grace, but now he could perceive the connections binding them, the shared consciousness that made them complete. "How do you feel?" Vera asked softly, her empathic abilities reading his emotional state, even as their new bond carried his feelings directly to all three. "Whole," Marcus said wonderingly. "Like I've been living my entire existence with only a fraction of my soul, because you have been," Lysa said with a rare smile. "Human consciousness is so isolated, so alone. Now you'll never experience loneliness again." "None of us will," Zara added, taking his hand. The simple contact sent waves of shared sensation through their bond, her joy at the touch, his love for her, Lys's protective satisfaction, Vera's empathic pleasure in their collective happiness. 8 months later, as the starbound unity prepared to return to Earth with signed agreements and a new alliance between humanity and the Sarenary, Marcus stood in the observation lounge with his bonded family. The crew had adapted remarkably well to their captain's unusual domestic situation, though it had required considerable explanation. "Do you think Earth will accept us?" Zara asked, unconsciously voicing the concern that all four of them shared through their bond. "Some will embrace us," Marcus said honestly. "Others will struggle with acceptance, but love has a way of opening minds, and our bond will demonstrate its own validity. We'll face whatever challenges arise together," Lysa added with characteristic determination. "As we always have," Vera finished gently. "As we always will," as their ship engaged its hyperspace drive, carrying them toward Earth and whatever reception awaited. Marcus reflected on the journey that had brought him to this moment. He'd arrived at Haven Station, as a human diplomat seeking political alliance. He was returning as something unprecedented, a bridge between species, a living testament to love's power to transcend the boundaries of biology and culture. Before them lay Earth and the future they would build together. Behind them, the Saranuri homeworld sparkled in the distance. Love had proven stronger than fear, understanding more powerful than prejudice, and connection deeper than the vast spaces between stars. The tri-bond was complete, and with it, a new chapter in the story of what it meant to be human and what it meant to love without limits.